I've got the high ground! That's what Obi-Wan Kenobi screamed on a volcano, and we all know how that ended. Welcome to High Ground. I'm Andrew Fantasia, and I am joined by Mr. Rob McDonald today. How are you doing, Rob McDonald?
I'm doing excellent, and please do not underestimate my power, Andrew. I will jump right over you, and you will split me in half, just like.
Don't try it. Don't try it. It was recently your birthday. Happy belated birthday, sir. I hope you had a great one.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was an interesting one, especially with the certain video that I got to watch for my birthday that you can check out on the Facebook page right now. So that's an interesting one. Definitely go check it out, and I think it'll be easy to find on there. So if you haven't seen it already, it's something interesting that could be related to Duel of the Fates.
That's right. And while you're on the Facebook page, you might as well go ahead and like us and subscribe to us because we love subscribers. You guys are wonderful when you subscribe. That's such a beautiful thing. Today on High Ground, we're going to be talking about something a little different. We're going to be going askew just for a little bit. We're going to be talking about the trilogy of Mortis episodes that is from Clone Wars. And if you liked the Clone Wars cartoon, or if you want to like the Clone Wars cartoon, you haven't seen it yet, then there's a perfect opportunity. Not only can you be our subscriber and support us and watch all the crazy Star Wars content that we're always putting out, but if you go to our Patreon page and become a Patreon supporter, you will get exclusive access to our Patreon-only show, which is coming out within, I think, in the next month or two, we're going to start it up. It's called Cloning Around, and it is basically our in-depth rewatch/review of all the Clone Wars episodes. We have another show, I Rebel, where we're doing Star Wars Rebels. But Cloning Around, we're going to go farther back in time, take a look at the Clone Wars, and it's going to be so much identical fun every episode. In fact, every episode is going to be the exact same thing because they're clones. I think people will enjoy that. I think Patreon folks will really appreciate that. But so obviously we're going to be looking at Mortis on that show. However, because Mortis is kind of relevant right now, we thought it would be best to do a high ground about it and maybe refresh people's memories about what that was. Because by the time we get to it and Cloning Around, Rebels will most definitely be finished at that point. So we want to kind of talk about it now while we have the opportunity to slap some theories onto the ice and see what sticks. So, Rob, when was the last time you saw the Mortis trilogy?
So last time I actually watched it was last night. I decided to rewatch it since we were doing this discussion. But before that, it was probably like a good 3 or 4 years since I'd seen it before that. So yeah, it was not fresh in my memory. Hence why I decided to rewatch it again and get it processing in my memory again, because this was a really big arc in general, just to get this part of it going. Like, you got the return of Sam Witwer to the show, voicing characters again for Star Wars. That was great. And it's a really good arc. So I'm really looking forward to getting this talking, especially with the Prophet, the one that predicted that it would be coming back for Rebels, and hence why we're talking about it now, Andrew Fantasia.
What can I say except you're welcome?
You're welcome.
Do you happen to remember? You said the first time you saw Mortis was a few years ago. So do you happen to remember, Rob, what your initial reaction to it was back then?
Well, I just thought it was interesting that they were going to do this, like everything that was related basically to a lot of these Clone Wars episodes was, you had Grievous in some type of way in it, or Asajj Ventress. Like a lot of those types of characters, you had the droids always in it. This was one that was really just separated from all that. It was just take these characters that you love, which are pretty much the leads of the show, in Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, and take them to this place that really lets you know what the Force is all about in a lot of ways, right? Like this planet was just so interesting because it was unlike any other planet that was really there, because it really seems like it's like Mortis himself is just in this Nexus universe in its own, right? Like that's the way that planet just seems to work in general. And just going into it that much, and especially with the way the third episode goes, and you get to finally see Anakin know what the future is, I think that's a very key moment, especially with the Anakin character that's in Clone Wars. So again, like again, this arc was a very big deal for me, and it only showed me how much of a big deal this arc was when that third episode finally came too.
Yeah, that you're right. That moment is a huge moment, and I remember though the first time I saw these. I think it was also around the same time, like about 4 years ago, back when the Clone Wars was put out on Netflix for the first time. That's when I saw it, and I remember I was not the biggest fan of this trilogy of episodes, and the main reason for that was we had so many things happen, like that moment where Anakin sees the future and he finds out he's going to be Darth Vader, and Ahsoka Tano is killed by the son, and then Anakin's memory of everything he saw was wiped, and the daughter brought Ahsoka back to life by pouring her life force into her. So I was like, I'm not a fan of having huge moments and then just erasing them, because it's like, well, why did we even bother? Why did we come here in the first place? Okay, you're going to show Anakin this incredible thing about his future, and you're going to kill a main character, and then you're not, and you won't. So like, why did you just waste my time for 3 episodes? So that was my initial reaction coming out of Mortis. I was like, next. So I didn't rewatch it until I rewatched the whole show about 6-7 months ago, and I got a better appreciation for it the second time around, but I was still very confused by what the hell is going on, because you've got this rhombus planet that's like got its own weird dream logic to it, and there's a trio of like force beings who have no real names, and they keep tempting our main characters and showing them visions and ghosts and trying to kill them in like a gladiator pit and turning into griffins, and you're just like, what is happening? It's so out there. And at the end of it all, when basically you've got Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, and they leave this place, and they leave it pretty much devastated from when they found it. Like, those 3 force beings are gone. I know the father and daughter die. Like I said, it's been a few months since I watched this. I can't remember if the son dies. I think does the son get killed as well?
Well, yeah, Anakin stabs him with the lightsaber, but, who knows what that really means, because it was the other ones that got specifically killed by that weapon, that sword that was on Mortis. So who knows, maybe there's some type of way the son survived, because, again, the only thing that really happened to him was Anakin stabbing with a lightsaber, and who knows if that can even kill these beings. So it's possible that the son maybe survived. I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe. I mean, they literally had the power to like change the weather and bring winter. They were like the Bendu on crack. Like there was so much to these people. And I remember the first time I saw it too, being kind of particularly disappointed that okay, Clone Wars, you introduced these 3 beings who are like gods, and then you never spoke of them again. And like that was another thing. It's like, just like killing Ahsoka, and then no, she's not dead. It's like, here's these 3 people. Oh, no, they're gone. So it's like, wait, hold on. Like, stop doing these outlandish things and then just, brushing them aside. And like the fact that they were never again, like not even spoken about, like you would think, 6 months later in their world, they'd be like standing on a separatist ship fighting battle droids. And then like Anakin would turn to Obi-Wan and be like, hey, Master, remember that like rhombus planet that we went on with those like Griffin people? That was messed up. And Obi-Wan would be like, yeah, I can't believe we were that. Like that, that's not something that I think these characters would forget about.
Well, that's a valid point, I think, especially because I think the number one thing that should have happened after this all happened is especially them at least going to Yoda and telling Yoda about this, and then Yoda, having a discussion there in some type of way, because I think if anybody that they know should know about what they just experienced, it should be Master Yoda.
Oh, 100%. You're right. Like I don't think they said anything to Rex, right? Rex was just like, hey, you guys have been gone for like 20 seconds. And they're like, okay. But, you're right.
Yeah.
My first instinct would have been, we have to turn this ship around and go to Coruscant because there is a freaking rhombus with dead ghosts on it, and we need to call attention to this. So the fact that Mortis was never spoken of again was kind of a point of contention with me, but I have always been curious to revisit it. I've been curious to learn more about what Filoni and George Lucas were trying to say, because we all got that impression the first time we saw the Mortis trilogy that this is important. They're trying to tell us that this is important to the Force, to the galaxy. Maybe not to the war, because it's bigger than petty wars, but it's important. And we haven't heard boo about it. Like I said, Anakin never even... Vader never even says to the Emperor, hey, I was on this rhombus planet during the Clone Wars. Maybe you should go see. There's probably some power there we can use. Like, never. So, and like we've had like 2 million Vader comics where he's had ample opportunity to do that. So my question has always been like, where the F is Mortis? Why, if it was important, why? Like, why have we not seen it again? And now finally, the Rebels Season 4 trailer for the tail end of this show is finally out. And what do we see? We see a mural of the father, the daughter, and the son having a family picnic at Chili's. They look happy. Rob, what do you think? Is this going to be a case of the mural is literally the only thing we see, and Ezra's like, what's that? And somebody's like, I don't know, let's move on. Or do you think we're actually going to get some answers about this place?
I think there's a small possibility that it could be that, where it's just like that, but I don't think they would have put it in a trailer if it wasn't going to be a big deal. Like, that's something that just, you walk by and it's just a random like Easter egg that somebody would like. But the fact that they put it in the trailer makes me think that it's going to have something to do with it. And especially that Mortis just seems to be something like a Dave Filoni creation, right? This is a Dave Filoni thing. So that's why I kind of understand maybe it's not in the comics. And so maybe, the fact that the one other thing that's so buzzed about from this trailer is the fact that Emperor is in the arc, like in the closing arc of it. So maybe what you were just talking about is going to be the revelation that Darth Vader did tell him. It just hasn't been in a comic or anything like that. It just happened off screen in the Dave Filoni part of the universe. So maybe he does know, and in some type of way that's going to be coming back. So I don't know. I think it's so interesting in the way that this could resolve itself, because what shirt was Filoni wearing at Celebration? It was the is Ahsoka dead shirt. I can't remember exactly the way it was written, but it was Ahsoka dead with like the question mark. And Ahsoka could very well come back in this. And what was Ahsoka? Ahsoka was one of the people that was on that planet with her, with Obi-Wan and Anakin. So maybe her coming back is in some way to let Ezra know about Mortis in some type of way. I don't know. I think that would be the most interesting way to bring her back and make her relevant in terms of the way this show seems to be closing off with these final episodes.
Yeah, and I think you said the magic word with Ahsoka, because she was my first sort of instinct when I first came up with this theory of like, why don't we have them end up on Mortis? Because she is one of 3 Jedi who are still floating around somewhere that we need to get rid of. Mm-hmm. And what happened to her on Mortis as a teenager? She died. And then the daughter's like, nope, magic. And then she got back up and she's like, oh, I'm alive because the daughter like poured her force in me or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think that came without consequences. So maybe there's some sort of, deal where it's like, okay, the daughter's force is in me now, but now that means when I actually die again, I turn into one of these 3 spirits and I have to go to Mortis and take care of stuff there now, because we left a power vacuum of 3 people, in our wake. Like there were 3 people there keeping stuff in balance, and by the time we left, they were gone because we started some stuff. So if that temple did collapse on Ahsoka after she fought Vader, and she got up and she's like, "Oh, I understand now. I'm the spirit. I'm a spirit of Mortis now because of what happened to me. Now my job is to fill these other 2 roles what 2 Jedi do I know? Oh, I know this guy with the man bun and his little blue-haired friend. So I'm going to go find them, maybe, speak to these wolves through the Force and be like, tell Kanan he has to come do this on Mortis now with me. We got to set up shop there. And the wolves tell Kanan, and Kanan's like, I understand. Last time we saw him, that's exactly what was going on. The wolf said something, and Kanan is like, I get it. Let's go. And now their job is to let Ezra know. And then I think it's a matter of like, they're going to die, yes, but in a sense, they're not just becoming one with the Force like Yoda and Obi-Wan did. They're becoming Mortis beings, whatever that means. We still don't know. I really hope that's the case. I really hope that's where it's going, because that will do exactly everything that needs to be done right now. If there's like a checklist, that'll do it. It'll get rid of Ahsoka, Kanan, and Ezra as far as like having Jedi around, because we can't have that. And it will bring Mortis back, which ties it in with Clone Wars, and it will explain more about how Mortis works, what its relationship is to the rest of the living Force. And like everything comes together. Like there is literally no reason not to do it. But you're right. The wild card here is Palpatine, who was not supposed to be in this show, from what we heard. And now all of a sudden, not only is he in the show, but he's specifically saying to Ezra that he's looking for him. So either this is a Mortis vision, because we know visions on Mortis get pretty intense. There's like touching and slapping and fires. Like if you have a vision on Mortis, like you're walking away with some bruises. So maybe it's something like that, or maybe you're right. Maybe Vader finally told his master about this place, which that's a conversation I would love to see, by the way. Like, you're telling me, Vader, there's a rhombus out in space with ghosts on it. This sounds like you're drunk again. But that would be terrifying, because imagine a place that powerful and the Emperor trying to get his hands on it. That's bad news. So that's a power struggle that I would like to see. But yeah, I think that's where we're standing right now with Mortis in terms of Rebels. And the episodes themselves, though, like what we've seen so far with what the son, daughter, and father can do. You've seen it more recently than I have. So let me ask you this: if Ahsoka, Ezra, and Kanan become those beings, get those powers at the end of the show, what do you think that says for the future in terms of like what they could do for the Force? Like, do you see a future where like a 30-year-old Rey makes a pilgrimage to Mortis and meets them? Like,
yeah, I don't know. That's hard to think about. Like, as much as I like the idea of what you're suggesting, and that's the way that these characters could resolve themselves, the thing that I'm finding difficult is, and especially with the Last Jedi portion of it and Rey, is that there's so many people that watch the movies and don't watch the TV show. So if they introduce Mortis all of a sudden, and then there's this type of scenario that's happening with these characters, people might just be like, "What the heck is going on?" Right? That might just throw off a whole bunch of more casual Star Wars fans that just watch the movies. And that's the thing, almost with this part in Rebels, in which that they might be fitting into those roles, which makes me think that there are a lot of people that watch Rebels that have not watched Clone Wars, and to just bring in this arc that happened in Clone Wars and have it factor so heavily into the ending of Rebels is the thing that's kind of making me think that maybe it won't be that big of a factor in it, like that Mortis won't come in and literally just be the ending for probably the two most important characters in the show, which kind of makes me think that maybe that ending is just not going to happen. But it would be interesting, and especially with the part that you mentioned about Ahsoka. Like, imagine that. Like, everyone's expecting Ahsoka to come back and just be back as herself. But what if that temple crashing down on her was her actually dying, and because she died and that life was now closed off, now she could accomplish, her task as to, the fact that the daughter did bring her back to life. Now she gets to be the daughter version of it, or at least replace the father in what you're saying, right? I think that's extremely likely, more so than the Ezra and Kanan part, as opposed to how they're going to close that off. Because, the thing that's tripping me up there is the fact that I think there are a lot of people that just have not watched the Mortis arc, and Clone Wars in general, that would be thrown off by that ending, because it would suddenly mean that, you have to watch Clone Wars in order to process this ending correctly. Unless they really steadily build it up and they let you know what Mortis is beforehand. That I could possibly see. If that's the case, if it's like literally a huge build up about Mortis, like in the final episodes, and you learn what Mortis is, and Ahsoka overtly tells you what it is, then maybe that's more of a possibility. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the ending, but I think a lot of us are expecting that Ezra and Kanan are not going to make it out of Rebels alive, I think, by the end of the series.
So before we wrap up, then let me just ask you the $1 million question right up front, and by all means take your time with it, because it's not an easy question.
Yeah.
So, Mr. McDonald, what is Mortis, and what can the beings that live there do, and what can't they do?
I think the Mortis, what it represents in a lot of ways, is it takes key people in the Force, and it shows them something or introduces them to something that they have to know, right? In some type of way that, I guess you can kind of say that, the fact that Anakin found out about what his future was, that's something they had to take away, because he didn't need to know that much. But I think it's just literally in terms of key pieces in the Force, it opens itself to them, because those people need to know something about the Force that will come into place later. And I think that's the key part, is that maybe this whole point of this was this whole Ahsoka part of it. That Ahsoka might have been literally, everybody was within this Mortis arc was talking about the Chosen One, and he seemed to be the main part of it. But maybe Ahsoka was really the more important part of that arc, and we're going to find that out later. So, I mean, as to what exactly means, like, it's still hard to tell without seeing the Rebels episodes, because, again, we were talking about this Mortis arc and the fact that in a lot of ways, it's this puzzle piece that you can take out of Clone Wars, and it will not affect any of Clone Wars really all that much, right? Mm-hmm. But it might affect the characters in a more spiritual way that we haven't realized yet. So I kind of feel that's the way that it's maybe, we might have known that perhaps there have been other people that have seen Mortis before or gone to Mortis before, that we just didn't know went to Mortis. Maybe Palpatine went to Mortis and he already knew about Mortis. And hearing that Anakin or Darth Vader was on Mortis, or Ahsoka was on Mortis, maybe that's going to push him to want to find it more. I mean, I still know. I think that's the most interesting part, and especially the fact that Ian McDiarmid's coming back and he's voicing the Palpatine in this final arc. That's maybe the most interesting part of this entire thing.
Is that seriously Ian McDiarmid? I thought it was going to be Sam Witwer.
No, it was announced that that was Ian McDiarmid. It's not Sam Witwer.
Oh my God! I just had a heart attack of joy. Just
well, please, we still have an episode to finish. That's amazing, though.
Wow. Okay, wow, that just made my day. All right, so that's high ground on Mortis. I mean, it's such. You're right. It's such a hard thing to review, because its very nature is enigmatic, and like you said, we need to see what Rebels does with it. But please chime in the comments. What do you think Mortis is? What do you think the beings there can do? What do you think they can't do? Are they similar to something like the Bendu or the Loth Wolves, or are they a different animal entirely? There's a lot to talk about here. It's juicy. It's kind of a big step. It's a big struggle. And we hopefully will see more, and hopefully shed some more light on this. But until Rebels comes out, all we can do is hope and pray that this beautiful magic black rhombus will rear its head once again. So this has been High Ground. Rob McDonald, where can people find you when you're not on the high ground?
Well, when I'm not on the high ground telling you that you cannot underestimate my power, I am at Robert E. McDonald on both Twitter and Instagram. Follow me on there. I tweet and I post pictures every now and then. Not so much Instagram as much recently, but still, that's where you can follow me and find out more about me, and perhaps not find out more about me when I'm not posting. But regardless.
He's mysterious like that.
Yes. Yeah, I guess so.
And you can find me right here on the Rebel Scum Podcast channel and on my own YouTube channel, which is just called Andrew Fantasia, because that's my name. And I have a show there called Thumb Together, and it's lots of fun. But until next time, this has been High Ground. And Rob, you were always scum.
Rebel scum.
Oh, Ian McDermott's coming back. I can't believe this. See you next time, scumbags.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.